crowbarring this in, but as a side note, you guys saw the movie Glass, right?
I saw like half of it.
I watched it like twice last week. I when I first saw it, I was like kind of distracted. It was during working hours. I didn't know if you guys care. I was curious what John thinks about that, because I know you're the master of that stuff. If it was a good homage, because there's a lot of symbolism that I didn't pick up on with the villains. It's an origin story, and they allude to, it's kind of a little too much on the nose at times, where the characters are like, this is the part where they meet, they show us everything.
Right.
So is that good, or did you enjoy it?
I saw only half of it. I got pulled away from it. I didn't like check out. I was like, Hannah woke up or something. I remember thinking exactly what you said, Clark. Like, I'm like, God, Shyamalan is really just laying on the comic book blueprint shit very thick. He was like, with great power comes great. I'm like, oh, okay, responsibility. Thank you, Uncle Ben.
Thank you.
But yeah, it did feel a little, maybe like if he would have done it in this span of 10 years from Unbreakable, Breakable, Split, Glass, within like a 10-year span, I just think that would have served it better.
I agree. Like, I love the movie as a standalone movie. I think it's awesome, but there are parts, exactly what you said, where it's like, oh, we're the family, and that's why he's not coming after us. And they all have like the same colors as the villain or the superhero.
Yeah,
and
like
that's
like too much. Like I was
Too
like,
obvious.
okay, we get it. It's a comic book movie.
Like, I feel like if Shyamalan just did a standalone movie with the story, it would have been even better. But I feel like because superhero movies are so big, he was probably like, there's probably like 100 rewrites. Right. But I thought it was really good, like really well done.
Yeah, like it was fun, and I was into it.
It's
and I was
fun ride
to finish it because I like everything Shyamalan does except for the Lady in the Water, and The Village. I thought was just, I saw it coming a mile away.
I love The Village. I guess
I know. My brother does too, and I'm just like, well, of course, that's the
love
twist.
it. Yeah,
I love it too.
What's a twist?
Whenever
I love The Village.
Whenever I watch a Shyamalan movie, if it's not in this time period, then the twist is that it is.
You're done.
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water angered me. They just kept like, it was like they were writing it as they were shooting it. He was like, wait a minute, no, the rules are this.
Yeah,
you're
let's do this.
You're the strong man. You're the knight in shining armor. And then they were like, no, you're the strong man.
No,
I think I'm partial to M. Night Shyamalan just because he's a Philly guy and he likes to film his movies there. And so I give him probably a little bit more latitude than he deserves.
I do too. I did too for a while until Lady in the Water, and I was like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's like trying too hard. He's like trying to be Aesop's fable, 300 years too fast. Like, give it time, Shyamalan. In time, they will teach your stuff in classes.
And you always see like an evolution of a director like that. Like Spielberg started with Jaws, essentially. That was his first big breakout. And then look what he's done since then. And Shyamalan is like stuck in this like middle ground where he's constantly doing the same shit, just with different storylines.
But think about it. Most directors like Christopher Nolan, Scorsese, they all do like similar looking movies for the most part. Yeah, Spielberg. True. That's why Spielberg's the greatest of all time. Like, none of his movies look like they were done by one person.
Yeah. No, he did Catch Me If You Can, War Horse, and E.T. Like
E.T.
Like, what is that? Jurassic Park. He did Empire of the Sun with Christian Bale, a young sexual Christian Bale. Never saw. I think Christian Bale was a teenager. You know what's funny though is I was reading the trivia for Glass. And they were like, M. Night Shyamalan mortgaged his house to pay for this movie. And I'm like, that guy's got to be worth like almost $1 billion, all those movies he made. So I looked up his net worth, and it's only $50 million. And then you remember, like, oh, he did all those like flops that he put his own money into. So that like sunk him. Because he did Sixth Sense, Signs, and The Village, which all like killed it financially. But then he did like 5 terrible movies.
Shyamalan?
The Happening?
Shyamalan.
Did you guys see that one?
Shyamalan.
You have Marky Mark. You got Mark Wahlberg in that movie. Right. But then you paired him up with some really fucking bad no-name actors. It didn't reach its potential. I could have been in that movie.
Dude,
Yeah.
The Happening was another one. 3/4 of the way through, I was like, "You are you're lost. What are you doing?"
I turned it off. I have never seen the end of that movie.
Yeah, me
The whole
neither. I don't
movie
care.
is just
Stupid.
Mark Wahlberg making faces and saying things like, "But mathematically, that we have to get to the center." And they never explain what the situation is in the movie. Usually there's closure. At the end, it just goes away, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
It
I kind
just-
of like that.
Just like the coronavirus is going to do.
Right.
That's like a miracle.
It's going to go away.
It'll be a
Testing.
great day for in America.
Everything's
testing.
really good. We're doing great things.
Really great. Bob put together a list tonight, John. John is a huge fan of lists.
I used to think lists were hacky and lazy, but they're not.
No?
Or the whole world is hacky and lazy because everyone loves lists.
Why is that?
think
Why are lists big? Like every news
Because-
article is like 10 things you need to do today.
Well, I think as we get older too, I think we gravitate towards some sort of like consistency in our lives each day, especially as we get older. So we like to know what's coming up next. We don't like to be caught off guard because we can prepare for things then, and we can do that. And
Ooh.
I'm learning that with my girlfriend now, who loves to plan things out, and I don't blame her. And I'm not much of a planner. I kind of like to shoot from the hip still, but I'm getting better at that.
It's like, well, you game plan for a stupid game. Why wouldn't you game plan for like your day as a human being?
Your
Makes
life,
sense.
Which is so much harder than playing football.
yeah, exactly, and it means so much more.
Right.
I remember John's planning with the wedding back in like 2016, where there was so much like we talked about in the show, and it was like we looked at glass to break for the Jewish tradition and all this. I was like, there's that much planning involved, and it's like if you didn't do that, it would be a disaster. It's like, what's next? What's next? And I still haven't like grasped that concept. I'm still like, we'll wing it. And that's why all of our vacations end up in tears.